Happy Halloween, folks, and welcome back to Hashtag AskGSM here today for October 31st, 2016. My favorite day of the year, as you could probably tell from the makeshift costume. I already had the shirt, just got the glasses and the bandana from online. I wore half of it to Hell in a Cell yesterday. I did not wear it in the show. I did wear it to dinner with RJ and his girlfriend Molly before the show, which, by the way, shout out to those guys for inviting me to the Go to Hell tour yesterday in Boston. Had an amazing experience. Obviously, a lot of questions for today's video. We'll be talking about the show last night, moving forward, stuff like that. It really just worked out that way, by the way, and also for today's video. As I mentioned last week, there was a slight chance I might be able to do a face-to-face on-camera video for Hashtag this week, because normally I can't. I record it right before I go to internship. I record it, I leave, and I put it up while I'm there usually. But today, I'm not going in because the traffic over here is terrible, so I'm just working from my dorm, so I was able to put on the costume today, do it on camera for you guys for, like I said, my favorite holiday of the year. So don't get your hopes up that every video going forward will be, face-to-face on camera. Not like it matters anyway. The content stays the same. Your questions are always excellent. And on that note, if you want to send in a question to the show, you could do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with hashtag AskGSM. You can find me on Facebook. Leave a comment on the post. I usually put up on Sunday nights or on the wall itself at facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews, or right here on YouTube. Drop a comment down below in the comment section. Drop a question down below in the comment section. I'll be sure to include it in next week's edition. So without further ado, let's get going with today's questions. Like I said, hope you guys are enjoying a very scary, frightening, safe Halloween. Starting first, Blue Eye to Sorta, my brother Jason. As always, be sure to check out his channel for some great content. Put up a video last week, so be sure to check it out. Give it a like, subscribe, all that awesome stuff. Glorious point on the Cruiserweight flippity-doo-dah answer. I saw the Cruiserweights in WCW when they started, and you're absolutely right, bro. He's talking about the question I answered last week about the Cruiserweights. So thanks, Jason, for that question. Do you think anyone will defeat Brock Lesnar clean when his run starts nearing its end, i.e. AJ Styles, or do you think he'll leave the company unbeatable? Great question. I do think he will be beaten clean at some point. I feel like the story is so great. It's not like, to me, I feel like the streak could have gone on forever. I feel like the streak, not all streaks are, meant to be broken. I felt the Undertaker streak could have gone on forever until he retired. Brock Lesnar, however, is a different story, because I feel kind of in that same respect that Brock Lesnar's streak of sorts is being built up to benefit someone in the end. The guy is a fucking monster. He's been built up so well over the past 3.5 years at this point, suffering no pinfall or submission losses since WrestleMania 29 in the hands of Triple H, that I feel like it would be a waste if he really just kind of left intact without anyone having beaten him. Now, the question also goes to who can beat Brock Lesnar and be taken as a legitimate threat to Brock Lesnar. That's really the money question here. I don't know who that person is, to be quite honest with you. I think a lot of people still think that it's going to be Roman Reigns. I do not put it past WWE whatsoever to go back to that match and have Roman Reigns get that win over Brock Lesnar that he was intended to get at WrestleMania 31 before all the backfires and all the plans changed and whatever else with Seth Rollins and all that other shit with the fans. And Brock Lesnar re-signed. So there is a pretty good, honestly, a pretty good chance that we could see Roman Reigns be the one to beat the one who put the one in 23-1 a couple years back. I would not doubt that whatsoever. You said AJ Styles. I love AJ. I know you love AJ too, Jason, but I don't honestly see AJ as a true threat to Brock Lesnar. Is he the best wrestler in the company right now? Absolutely. But at the same time, I just do not see him being the one to beat Brock Lesnar. Size-wise, I just don't think it would make sense. Same thing with Finn Balor. I think it would be a great match. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think the casual fan, or even I would buy into the fact that AJ Styles, after Brock Lesnar has decimated the likes of John Cena, Randy Orton, The Undertaker, and possibly Goldberg in a few weeks, only to lose to AJ Styles, to me seems a little bit unrealistic. I mean, none of this may even matter if Goldberg beats him at Survivor Series, which I hope does not happen. I like Goldberg a lot, but I feel like he should not win that match. He's gone. He's doing one match, hopefully, and that's it. So it should not be Goldberg. But then again, the question turns to who it could be. If not Roman Reigns, I know I was talking with, I think I was talking with, Connor yesterday. We were talking yesterday at Concore89. He asked the question later on in the video. I know we met up before the show yesterday at Barnes & Noble after the KO signing. But we were talking about Samoa Joe. I feel like Samoa Joe would be an amazing opponent for Brock Lesnar. I know I've said Kevin Owens in the past, and I still do want to see that match. I don't think at this current rate, Kevin Owens will be built up to beat Brock Lesnar or even be a threat to Brock Lesnar. But Samoa Joe being the absolute monster that he's been in NXT, I could absolutely see him being the one to beat Brock Lesnar. I mean, could he be? Yes. Will he be? Probably not. I just don't think WWE would ever do that. Have a guy that was not a homegrown WWE talent be the one to beat Brock Lesnar, but who knows? I think it's going to be interesting to find out. I don't think he'll be beat. I think he should be beat in his last match, and then, right off into the sunset, kind of do the, traditional honors for someone on the way out. Again, but who that will be, I don't know. I think it's not this year that he's going to lose. I mean, when I say this year, I mean this year at WrestleMania. Maybe the next year when they're in Minneapolis or wherever, Brock Lesnar's hometown, where Vince thought he would be booed last week, whatever reason. But anyway, so I think they should hold off until his last match, a year and a half from now. Brad S., also from YouTube. Do you watch the What Culture Pro Wrestling, PCWP, or PCPW, sorry? And if so, who is your favorite star in that promotion at the moment? No, I do not. I know I've heard a lot about it. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I write for What Culture, so I see them posting all the time, the match cards and stuff like that. But I've not watched the promotion. And I might check it out at some point just to see what it's all about. But, I mean, I watch so much wrestling as it is. Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Lucha, Ring of Honor. It's already overkill as it is, so I don't know if I'd go out of my way to watch PCPW. But it sounds cool, though, so probably at some point. Amanda450 Splash, also from YouTube's got a couple questions here. First one being, with Ty Dillinger and Bobby Roode growing an hour and a half or so on the either side of Toronto, who do you see getting cheered more by the TakeOver Toronto crowd? Great question. I think it's pretty evenly matched. I think, like you said, with both Dillinger and Roode growing up within an hour and a half of where Toronto is going to be taking place. But I think just because Dillinger is the babyface, probably Dillinger. But I mean, it's not like that really worked for Andrade Cien Almas. But Roode was really at an advantage anyway, going into that show, because people loved Roode. People didn't really care about Almas at that point. But I feel like for Dillinger and Roode, they're already evenly matched. They might get the same amount of cheers, but throughout the match, it might be Dillinger, just because people can chant 10, and Roode's going to try to heal it up and get the crowd to boo him. So I'll go with Dillinger. Favorite Raw/SmackDown moment/match that you have seen live? Good question. I gotta think, how many Raws have I been to? I went to one with John, my first ever Raw, the last Raw of 2009. That is actually on the WWE Network now. I've yet to rewatch it, though. I've been to that Raw. I went to a Raw, didn't go to one in 2010. 2011, no. 2012, I was going to, couldn't get tickets. Went to one in 2013, the day after my birthday, which was pretty good. 2014, that amazing Raw on June 30th. We'll never forget that. 2015, I went to one with RJ in Boston. And I went to one this year, the one after SummerSlam. So I've been to 5 Raws. Of those 5 Raws, seeing Brock Lesnar live was really cool, despite already having seen him at SummerSlam. And I've been to 2 SmackDowns. My first ever WWE show was a SmackDown ECW taping in November of 2009. And then the second one was with RJ in Boston earlier this year, which was also a good show. But favorite match/moment. I mean, it's hard to say. I think it's not really a tie. Closed up on the list is Bayley's debut earlier this year, or a couple months ago in August in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. That was amazing. People pretty much knew it was coming, but it was still a great moment. But I think the only thing that beats out that moment is because I did not see this moment coming, so I marked the fuck out, and I don't think anyone saw it coming, for the most part, in the arena anyway. When Chris Jericho came back. I know the video's up here on my channel from 2.5 years ago. Still one of my biggest, if not my biggest market moment of all time. It's certainly up there. From, like I said, June 30th, 2014. Just an amazing return. I knew Miz was coming back, or I kind of had a feeling. So that was cool to see him. But when Jericho's music hit, I fucking lost it, dude. Lost it. And it was an amazing return for one of the best and one of my favorite performers of all time. So that's got to take the cake as my favorite Raw moment, or favorite moment from a Raw SmackDown show, or even match. I mean, there's a lot of good matches that have happened, but none that have been like, oh wow, that's my best match, the best match I've ever seen, or whatever. And their third question: when do you see Vince McMahon going into the WWE Hall of Fame? And when he's dead. Honestly, I don't think he would ever induct himself. As long as he's at the helm of WWE, I do not ever see him inducting himself into the Hall of Fame. So maybe Triple. I mean, to me, I feel like they should do it. Triple H should be the one to do it. or even Shane, more so Triple H, just because he's more involved currently, and he's been here a lot longer while Shane was gone, but especially if Triple H takes over. But yeah, I feel like it wouldn't do him justice if they did it posthumously or however you say it. I feel like it'd be a lot better if we got a speech from Vince. But again, I just don't see him doing that as long as he's still around. So I don't see that happening. But yeah, no, honestly, I don't see it happening until after he's dead. I hate to say that, but I think that's the way it's going to go down. Emmanuel A, he's got a question here also from YouTube. With all the talk about women main eventing, it made me wonder if and when tag teams are going to main event a pay-per-view. I want to say the last WWE pay-per-view main evented by a tag team title match was Backlash 2001 with Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H taking on Undertaker and Kane, which is funny because the Raws between WrestleMania 17 and Backlash suggested that Austin and Triple H would feud against the Hardys, with Jeff getting a brief IC title reign until Triple H abruptly got the title back and they switched to Undertaker and Kane immediately, taking the titles off of Edge and Christian to set up the All Championships match. So you were incorrect in saying that. I believe the last tag team title match that main evented a WWE pay-per-view was TLC 2009. But you got to look at the same thing with Austin and Triple H as Taker and Kane. The same thing as that match. Look at who was involved. It wasn't, a New Day-like tag team. It wasn't the Rhodes Scholars. It wasn't, Primo and Epico or the Hart Dynasty. It was fucking D-Generation X and Big Show and Chris Jericho for the most accomplished superstars in company history. So, of course, they're going to main event the show. And it led to DX winning their first tag team title. And they also main evented Hell in a Cell that year, too. DX did. That was a big thing, too. I think that was the first ever, not the first ever tag team Hell in a Cell match. Or, I think it was. I know we had a handicap one with DX, but that was a handicap, not tag team. So, anyway, that was pretty historic. But, yeah, we have not had a tag team title match. And no, like Survivor Series tag team matches don't count. Otherwise, 2014 would have been in the running here. But yeah, I think it's only a matter of time. I know it took a while for the women, obviously. I think it's only a matter of time for the tag teams too. I just can't see a New Day match main eventing a WWE pay-per-view. I mean, I love the New Day, but none of their feuds really have ever felt like, wow, that's so amazing, it should close out the show. Ever, really. And they're a comedy act, so I just don't think it's really main event worthy. It's got to be the right players. It's either got to involve top-tier stars like DX, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Big Show, and Jericho, or the feud has got to be really heated. I think a prime example, I know it was a fucking TLC ladder warfare match, but Ring of Honor. I mean, I was there. It was an amazing match, one of the greatest matches I've ever seen live, between the Addiction, Motor City Machine Guns, and the Young Bucks. And that main evented the Ring of Honor pay-per-view All-Star Extravaganza last month. So that's a prime example of a match that main evented the Ring of Honor pay-per-view, a tag team title match. I mean, they had a stipulation. And so did that TLC one. I mean, it was a fucking TLC match. But still, I think it's only a matter of time, especially with the, with the two branded pay-per-views. I think there's more of a chance that we could see something like that. Same thing with Slater and Rhino. I cannot see them main eventing a WWE pay-per-view as long as they're tag team champions. It's got to be a really good team and a really great moment. I think, like when Cody and Goldust won the tag titles in the main event of Raw a couple years back. That was an amazing moment that I could have seen closed out Battleground if they did it there, which sucked, by the way. That show was awful. But if they closed out that show, the Rhodes Scholars. Did I say Rhodes Scholars? I keep on saying Rhodes Scholars. I'm sorry. I meant Cody Rhodes and Goldust. I get the Cody Rhodes tag teams mixed up. That's a match that could have main evented Battleground. That match, that whole feud, that's a prime example of a tag team feud that meant something and was that fucking good. So that was really the last time I was that invested, I think, in a tag team title feud, really. I know the Usos and Luke Harper and Eric Rowan had a great series of tag team title matches a few years back, but even that, I don't know if I could have seen that closing out a show, even though those matches were great. The first KFC also from YouTube, who will be the 5 tag teams for Raw and SmackDown in the Survivor Series match. So for SmackDown, I'm thinking Hype Bros, who have already qualified, Slater and Rhino, who will be on the team as long as they're champions, the Usos, American Alpha, and really that last spot can go to pretty much anyone. The Spirit Squad, Vaudevillains, Breezango. I know the Ascension already lost. That's a no-go. I'd put the Spirit Squad. I worked on the Vaudevillains, but I'm thinking about the Spirit Squad now. I would put them in the match just because they've been on TV more. They've been more relevant as of late, so I'd put the Vaudevillains in there over Breezango or something, who really have not been on TV at all, or the Vaudevillains who just are dead in the water. Frankishire 15. Match of the night at Hell in a Cell. Oh, sorry. I forgot to say the Raw tag team. Fuck, I only wrote down SmackDowns. But for Raw, it's got to be New Day, the Club, Cesaro and Sheamus, probably. Enzo and Cass, and is that really it? Do we have any other tag teams that aren't the Golden Truth or the Shining Stars? Really? Oh, man. Fuck. I don't even know. Do we have any other tag teams on Raw that would qualify? I mean, I guess it's really a lesser of two evils. I guess I just go with Golden Truth. Jesus, they're fucking god-awful, too. Hopefully, SmackDown wins that match. If SmackDown does not win that match, there's something wrong with this company. Anyway, next question. Frankishire 15. Match of the night at Hell in a Cell. It could really go any way. I enjoyed all 3 Cell matches. I thought all 3 matches were really good. Any one of those could be the match of the night. I enjoyed Rusev and Roman exceeded expectations. I really enjoyed the Universal title match, and I really enjoyed the main event. I got to go with the main event just because, despite the lackluster finish, which I'll talk about momentarily, that the match itself was really good. They made history. Both women put it all out there. They executed a lot of cool spots with the tables, the chairs, and the outside. So I thought it was a really, really good match. I got to go with Banks and Charlotte in that case. Brandon A, his questions are, he's got 2 of them. Obviously, you are a huge wrestling fan, as are your subscribers. However, are there times that you believe being a wrestling fan is a burden or annoying? I don't know if burden is really the right word. I mean, I've talked about this before in terms of like what would make me stop watching wrestling. That's a completely different question. But any times that wrestling, like, oh man, this is annoying. I mean, I guess not really times like last night. I saw a lot of ranting on the finish. I just kind of tweeted out that it was really depressing, really, for me, especially just walking out of the arena like, wow, Sasha lost in her hometown. The finish really wasn't that good. That was weird. But there was a lot of backlash online. You know, like I remember in recent memory anyway, after the Rumbles 2014 and 2015, and I'm really not really one to complain online about match finishes. I'll say, okay, that sucked, and here's the reason why, and that's it. I really won't go on a massive rant about it, at least on Twitter anyway. I might hear, but not on Twitter or anything like that. But after the Rumble and after both Rumbles, 2014 and 2015, I found myself getting in a lot of like heated arguments on Twitter. It's like, dude, it's just wrestling. Like, I mean, I know we all disagree on whether Roman should have won or Batista should have won. That was a shit show, but it really brings out the worst in people. I know that happens a lot with just Raw in general, but for me to kind of sink that low and like argue with people over Twitter about why that didn't work and whatever else, usually I'll just make a comment. I mean, if you got your opinion, I got mine, whatever, but those Rumbles were just not good. I mean, it really brought the worst out of people, in my opinion. So I guess that would be a time as a wrestling fan I thought it was annoying to be a fan. Other than that, I mean, just little things like there's just so much wrestling to watch. And I mean, I guess even if I wasn't doing the show or writing reviews or articles or doing podcasts or whatever, I guess I would still be watching everything anyway, because I did even long before I started doing that stuff. But I feel like I need to watch Raw live just because, not because I feel like I'm going to miss something, but it's because with everything that I do, I like to get it up on time. Because if I don't watch Raw live, I got to watch it back hours later or the next day, and I got to avoid all social media. That's really a personal preference, but I got to write the review. Like for today, for example, I think it would be a prime example. I still got to do work stuff, even though I'm not going in. But I got to write the review for the pay-per-view. I got to write an article for tomorrow. I'm doing this right now. I had to upload the photos. So if I'm not there doing the show, I mean, I guess it could wait. But even when I've gone on vacation before, like I went on vacation for a week and I just was really slow and getting stuff up and watching because obviously I was on vacation. But with wrestling, there's so much you have to keep up with. And with just the stuff that I do with the reviews and stuff, that if I don't do it when it's, airing live or shortly thereafterwards, it builds up and it's a lot much more work to do at a later date. So that's just really a personal thing for me. It's not really applicable to most people. But that's one thing. Like if I don't watch Raw or SmackDown live, it's not really like, oh, I feel like I'm going to miss something. That's part of it. But it's also like, man, I really don't want to catch up on this tomorrow. I'd rather just do it now. So I don't really have that with anything else. That's more so just wrestling, but that's more of a personal thing. But other than that, I'm happy to be a wrestling fan. I'm proud to be a wrestling fan. So really not a burden whatsoever for me most times. His second question, how can the wrestling business solve the problem of booking feuds we care about and having wrestlers go over clean without a lot of 50-50 booking. For example, we want Baron Corbin pushed, but we could care less about Jack Swagger, so this feud means nothing. But if they put him against Apollo Crews, who we also want to see succeed and get wins, somebody has to lose, and the loser's momentum has stopped. Apollo Crews being the prime example. What are your thoughts on this dilemma? So I think it's one thing. I think you can, well, like you said, 50-50 booking is like what is killing this company, or at least why people don't care about a lot of feuds. Like with the Club and Enzo and Cass and that feud, for example, I think is a prime example of a feud that I just do not give a shit about, honestly. Just with the fact that, okay, Club won last night, but how long is it going to be? Is it going to be tonight, next week, until Enzo and Cass get their win back? So really, who benefits? You know what I mean? Even with Corbin and Crews, if they go back and forth, one gets a win, you get a win. It's like everyone in the baseball team, despite losing, you came in last place, but you still get a trophy. Not everyone can be a winner. There's only one winner. That said, though, I feel like you can do feuds. Sasha and Charlotte almost being a prime example too. I know both people, and a lot of people care about both women, so to a lesser extent. But all they've been doing is trading wins. No one has gotten 2 back-to-back wins on the other. It was Sasha, Charlotte, Sasha, and then Charlotte again, and trading the title back and forth. And neither one of them had one successful title defense. In the time they regained the gold, other than Charlotte's Clash of Champions last month. It's like, what the fuck is going on? I did not like the booking of that feud, but anyway, that's a whole other issue that we'll talk about soon enough. But yeah, with Crews being a prime example, I feel like there is a way. I mean, it's not just character-based, but with Sami Zayn, the guy can lose a lot, which would in storyline make him a loser. I mean, I know I say that a lot, and people are like, oh, he's not a loser. Well, you know what? The definition of a loser is someone who loses a lot, and by definition, the Club are losers. Sami Zayn would be a loser. But I think with him specifically, and Bayley being another prime example too, and maybe even Enzo and Cass, they're so over, and I feel like they benefit from losing. So those are 2 feuds, or 3 entities, acts, whatever, that don't have to get a win back after they lose the first match. I mean, I know they just did that with Bayley and Dana Brooke, but Dana Brooke just sucks, so it's kind of an exception. It's kind of the outlying case there, the outlier. But anyway, so yeah, I feel like with 50-50 booking, you just got to give people a reason to care about the loser. If they just lose and that's it, that's one thing. But if you're losing and they say they're going to rally up and they're going to battle back and get that win back and they fall short again, at least there's a story there. What the hell do we know about Crews that we didn't know about him in NXT? The guy has gotten so minimal mic time on any show. When he got called up on Raw, now that he's on SmackDown, he's barely on the show. People just really have stopped caring for the most part. So again, if you don't want to do 50-50 booking, and you shouldn't, because I feel like no one gets over in that case, at least when someone goes over consistently, and they get one win after another, that's good. But you should also make the loser look good in defeat. And there's other ways of doing that without going so quickly back to have them getting their win back. There are other ways of doing that. So they just got to get creative and not just fall back on the 50-50 booking with you get a win, I get a win, we all get a win, we're all winners. Not really. You're all kind of losers because no one cares about you more than you did before. So the feud was a failure in that respect. Next question. I don't know where this question came from. I think it was from someone else on YouTube. I apologize. I didn't write down your YouTube username, but who will challenge Roman Reigns next for the U.S. title? That's what I was thinking too. I don't know. We really do not have many heels on the Raw roster right now. I mean, Rusev and Reigns should be done. Just move on. Rusev and Reigns needs to be done. So that's a no-go. I mean, I feel like Roman's going to be on Team Raw for Survivor Series, so we probably don't have to worry about that until after that show. But then you got Roadblock, I think it is, right after that, so they do kind of have to hurry up and looking for a next challenger for him soon after that pay-per-view. But again, heel-wise, on Raw, even if Sheamus was free, even if Sheamus was on his own again, I don't want to see Reigns and Sheamus. That match, that feud sucked. That feud was absolutely awful. I do not want to see that feud again, even if it's over a different championship. And it's only been a year anyway. It's not even been a year since we last saw it, so no. Again, heel-wise, Titus O'Neil's a loser. I don't want to see Big Show brought back. We've already seen that anyway, too. this is kind of the problem they run in with Roman Reigns as champion. They don't really have a lot of fresh faces. I mean, I guess they could do Jericho, but I feel like he's more kind of wound up and tied up in the Universal title picture right now. So that's a no-go too. I mean, I would love to see Roman go heel and then feud with Cesaro. I'd rather see Reigns go heel before Cesaro. I feel like Cesaro is more naturally over. But that's not happening either, I don't think. So I don't know. I honestly do not know. I'm just thinking in my head of the Raw roster. I mean, I've said this before. I talked about it with Randy Cruz last week. Braun Strowman? Maybe? But again, I feel like it's way too soon for that. And I don't want to see Roman beat Braun, at least at this point. It's way too early, so I really don't know right now. At Swagzio from Twitter, moving on here, his question was Sasha Banks versus Charlotte kind of underwhelming? I know a lot of people had that thought. I know RJ at first did not love the match. He texted me this morning and said that it grew on him a little bit. He said it came off better watching it on TV. It's hard to see it in person because you got the fucking cage there. And the TD Garden is not helped, by the way. The TD Garden is a great arena, but with the way that WWE has their stage now, with the whole banner wiped across, whatever, the way the screen goes, it's a widescreen. Like, when I say widescreen, widescreen. And you can't play the match on there at that point. Or they don't like to, or Kevin Dunn isn't a fan of it or something like that. So you can't watch it on that screen. And then where the scoreboard would be in every other arena, at least in the TD Garden, it's being blocked off by our section by fucking banners. So we couldn't see anything. I mean, we could see it. We got great seats. Shout out to RJ for getting those awesome seats. But it was hard to see, especially for the cell matches. So anyway, for that match anyway, I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. So the point I was trying to make was that RJ wasn't a huge fan of it at first. Someone at Conquer89, who we'll talk to in a second with his question, he said it was kind of a mess when he tweeted me this morning or last night. And I saw on Twitter that it wasn't a great match. I saw a lot of people say it was great. A lot of, polarizing opinions on the match. For me, I really, really liked it. I thought it was a great match. I thought they made great use of the cell, the weapons. I thought they told a good story. The finish was underwhelming. That kind of goes without saying. I took a video of it unknowingly because I was going to take a video of one of the women trying to go through the table, but they didn't go through the table. The second one anyway. And Charlotte pinned her with her finish, and that was it. I was like, really? I mean, I was taking the video. I'm like, wait, it's over? And like I said on Twitter last night, it was just a really depressing vibe. I mean, walking out, it was just bizarre. I mean, she won. People didn't boo. I mean, I got asked this morning on Twitter. Like I said, people didn't boo. They just didn't care. Not that they didn't care, but it was just like they were shocked. And they were like, wow, they had Charlotte go over again. And people just left. Like I said, they didn't boo. They were just like in silence. They were just, shocked silent. Walked out, and that was it. Very depressing. Very depressing. Not a lot like, with TLC, Extreme Rules, TakeOver. I mean, SummerSlam was kind of the same thing. People were pissed. People were mad last night, but it was a different reaction. I mean, people left last night. Not like at SummerSlam. At SummerSlam, people were leaving like, oh, we want a refund. This is awful. This company sucks. TakeOver was better, which it was. But last night, I didn't hear that at all. I don't know if it's a Brooklyn versus Boston thing, but last night when we left, when I walked out, people were just like, no one was really talking about the show. People were just kind of like, whatever. I don't know. Like I said, really just really, really weird. Just a really anticlimactic finish. But the match itself, I thought was great. Like I said, I want to stress that. I want to emphasize that. And being there for the first ever women's pay-per-view main event in WWE history was also an amazing honor. They deserved it. It was a great match. The match of the night, in my opinion. So I can't say the match itself was underwhelming. I really enjoyed it. The crowd was super into it. The crowd was very much into it. More so that match than anything else in the show, maybe other than Rollins and Owens. So I can't say that it was underwhelming. Other than the finish, I should specify that. Should TJ Perkins have been Cruiserweight champion longer? I felt like they had to get the belt. Not that they had to get the belt off of TJ Perkins, but I felt like it would tell a better story. Kendrick, Not that he's the most over guy in the division right now. People like Rich Swann. I don't know. With Perkins, it's just something about him right now that's just not clicking. He's a very good wrestler. To me, in his promos, that aren't great, by the way. The acting is atrocious. But in his promos, though, the video game stuff, he comes off more like a heel to me. I don't know if it's his lack of expression or what, but he comes off like such a heel in his promos, which is really weird. Kendrick is a much more well-rounded character. People know who he is. He's established. He's a veteran. He's a very good heel. So I say put the belt on him, give him a little run with the title, and then put it on someone down the line after they beat him for the belt. And it means more because he's been champion longer and people want to boo him and stuff like that. I don't know. TJ Perkins, to me, was just never the guy that's like, oh, wow, the face of the Cruiserweights. Even when he won the CWC, which I was happy for him. I liked the guy. But it's like, I feel like Cedric Alexander would have been a much better fit. If they knew Kota Ibushi wasn't going to sign, why not just have Alexander go all the way to the end? Change up the brackets a little bit. Alexander would have been a different story because I feel like he's just naturally over. He's an amazing athlete. So, I don't know. I just would have gone with him over TJ Perkins. Because people, I don't know. He's got a great entrance, by the way. His entrance is really cool to see in person. But I don't know. It's just, I'm glad that Kendrick won. I thought he would win. He did win. I was happy he won. I marked out when he won. I feel like he's a better choice as champion, at least for right now. At Mark the Man 07, who do you think will make the semifinals of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic? So right now I'm thinking TM61 go to the finals because Aries hurt. I don't know if that's going to affect their standing, but it's going to be TM61 against Aries and Strong pretty soon. I feel like TM61 will win just because Aries is hurt right now, so I don't know what's going to happen with him. Temporarily, I don't know if he's going to be out or if he's just still injured. I'm not really sure. The next set of brackets, Sanity. I think we'll get to the semifinals. That'll be TM61 and Sanity. So I can see those two teams progressing to the finals. Authors of Pain, which is pretty self-explanatory, and Gargano Ciampa. I know we got Revival and then Gargano Ciampa in the quarterfinals. I mean, I could see Revival winning again to set up a Gargano Ciampa split. But I feel like Gargano Ciampa win. They finally get the win over the Revival. And then that sets up a tag team title rematch for NXT or wherever. Just because I just can't see Authors of Pain versus the Revival, two heel tag teams. So I'll go with those four teams. I predict those four teams will make it to the semifinals. Which I don't know will be at TakeOver, by the way. I think they're doing them on NXT beforehand. I could be wrong. I don't know if they're doing the same thing as last year where they're going to hold the semifinals and the finals on the same show. I'm not really sure. I could be wrong. I guess we'll find out. It's probably on the website somewhere, but I was curious about that too over the past couple days. Do you know anything else, or do you know anything about the tag team of Tino Sabatelli and Riddick Moss? And could they be good individually? RJ and I saw Riddick Moss as a opener guy at the NXT LOL show a couple months ago, back in April. I think he faced Mojo Rawley. He's got a good look, but he's nothing special in the ring. This is the same guy that injured Hideo Itami at a recent NXT Live event. So that kind of goes to show you how green this guy is. He's not really that good. Tino, however, I thought was really good. He was great on Breaking Ground. He really stood out in that Tag Team Classic match a couple weeks ago. Not really Moss, but Sabatelli's got a great theme, an amazing look. The guy looks like a fucking superstar. And his in-ring ability is really not that bad. He was not good a year ago, and they showed him on Breaking Ground. But since then, he's really come a long way. So I think Tino Sabatelli can be a great, future rising star for NXT. Riddick Moss, I'm not so sure about. WWE emailing fans about getting TNA Ring of Honor involved in the WWE Network. Would this dilute the product pay-per-view every week? So I don't know what the hell you're trying to ask here, Mark. If you're just asking about TNA Ring of Honor getting involved in the WWE Network, I love it. I know they emailed us about it in a fan survey or something. I think it'd be great if they can get Ring of Honor and TNA content on the WWE Network. Not give them their own show. Not add on another Ring of Honor show or a TNA show. Like if they bought TNA, which they won't. Maybe the library, but not the company. But if they bought TNA and they gave them their own show, who fucking cares? We already have 3 shows a week with Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. We do not need another show for TNA. Just take the library and put it on the network. That's all you really need. So I'd be very happy to see either company get involved with WWE and have their stuff be put on the network. I feel like they make it much more accessible for fans like me. At Mr. Singleton 16, after watching the main event of Hell in a Cell, how come only Sasha and Charlotte seem to be getting these big opportunities? Because they're the most two over women on the roster right now. I know we have Bayley, but she just came up. It's really the only feud that we've had with the women. One of the best feuds we've had with the women. The best feud we've had with the women in years. AJ Lee and Caitlyn was also very, very good. But these matches have been tremendously better. Even though the booking and the title being traded back and forth has just been beyond confusing. And just really, really weird. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like Sasha and Charlotte, they're just... I mean, everyone's deserving. If I said, oh, they're deserving, well, so is fucking Alicia Fox. I mean, she's good too. She's not great, but Sasha and Charlotte, I feel like, just are in the right place at the right time. Coming off the Women's Revolution, they've always had one of the better feuds in NXT history, dating back years, so it's really hard to not say them. But yeah, Sasha and Charlotte really are just happen to be in the right place at the same time, at the right time, so... It's not only them. I'm sure other women will also have this opportunity to do this in the future, whether it be Bayley, I couldn't tell you because that's really the only other woman on Raw right now that I care about. I'm sure on SmackDown they might have Becky main event a pay-per-view. If they want to do that one of these days, that would be great. But yeah, just right now, Sasha and Charlotte are getting these big opportunities because they're the two biggest stars of the women on Raw, other than Bayley. So that's why. That's the reason why. How come not a lot of wrestlers have pyro in their entrances? The pyro they do have doesn't have that boom. Because it costs money. Not everyone can have pyro. They had Apollo Crews. They gave him pyro when he first came up, and that lasted all of 2 weeks. I don't know if... I think Neville still gets pyro. I could be wrong. They're saving money because he's never on Raw anyway, so why bother? It's not like, oh, he gets pyro, but he shows up once a month. So it's not like he's on the show every week and they're spending money on it. Well, that's why. I feel like it's... Less is more. I feel like it'd be cooler if, fewer people had pyro, so it means more when you do have pyro. But it also costs money too, so they don't really want to blow bucks on fucking, Arya Davari and giving him pyro, you know what I mean? Next question from @RJ_Marceau. Marceau, my brother, RJ. Once again, big thanks to Mr. Marceau for coming on the Go to Hell tour yesterday, inviting me along with him and Molly. Great time, fun day. Really appreciate it. Hope to see you at NXT Lowell in a couple of weeks. But his question was, is it me or is the Cruiserweight division not working? How do they change it to make it better? We were talking about this yesterday. I think during the Kendrick and Perkins match, RJ and I were, about the division. And you know what? After just giving it some more thought, the matches have been good. But so far, I'm just not feeling it, And maybe it's not that it's bad. I think that's important to point out. I think with the current Cruiserweight division, why it's not really meeting, I think it's not bad. It's just not meeting the expectations a lot of us set for it. And I'm the type of person that doesn't want to set lofty expectations because I know WWE will never even come close to reaching that. But with the Cruiserweight division, I did because the CWC was really, really good and by far the best WWE produced show all year. From the presentation, the matches, the commentary, everything about it was fucking amazing. And you go from that to really a watered-down version of the main roster. I mean, I said since day one that they would tone down their style, which I was okay with. But, I mean, it's really no different than anything else in the roster. I mean, what made Perkins and Kendrick different than any other U.S. title match or any other mid-card match on Raw? Spoiler alert, nothing. I know they have the purple ropes and the handshakes and checking of them for weapons. Like, that's all fine and dandy. The presentation of the division is fine. I'm okay with that. I know RJ wasn't too high on it. I don't really care. I don't really care about the presentation and the handshakes. That doesn't really matter to me. It's really the lack of character development. And I know @JJF Tweets responded to RJ on Twitter last night. I saw his tweet too. It's really the fact that we have the one title feud, and that's fucking it. They have like a dozen guys in that division on Raw, but all we get are 6-man tag team matches, awful video game promos backstage, and awful acting and other stuff like that. It's really, that's it. It's only Perkins and Kendrick, and they're having a decent feud, and the matches have been good, but that's really it. It all comes down to that beyond the title, there's really nothing to get behind. And I said the same exact thing last week when I talked about Jason's question. It's that why did it work in 96, but it's not working in 2016? It's because every match in 2016 has the fucking flippity-doo-dahs. So in '96, it was revolutionary for its time because no other company was doing that. You didn't see that type of wrestling anywhere else. But in 2016, that's all we ever see is the flippity doodads. So it's really a breath of fresh air when we get a technical wrestling match. You know what I mean? Like a real wrestling match, and not the spot fests and the flippity doodads and stuff like that, which are great and they're entertaining. But you can't solely rely on that. And not only that, but they're not doing the flippity doodads as great as they were in the CWC, and it's not their fault. Because we watched them in the CWC, and they were amazing because they weren't being toned down. They were just going out there and having fucking amazing matches. You would never see an Ibushi Alexander-like match on Raw. That match they had in the CWC, I think in the semi or the quarterfinals, whatever. And a fucking amazing match. Or was it the quarterfinals? I think it was the second round. I don't know. But it was really, really fucking good. And they're really just shooting themselves in the foot, I think, with this Cruiserweight division. So, again, I'm asked that every week. Tom and I talk about it on Wrestle Rant Radio. Check out the show, by the way, cheap plug. But yeah, after talking with RJ about it last night, again, it's not that I don't like the Cruiserweights. It's not that I don't like the division. It's that I think RJ summed it up best. It's just not working. It's just not. People were chanting boring during the match last night. And it was a good match, but who cares? The story has really been all over the place. The division, there's not really many characters to get behind. They're great wrestlers, but when you kind of strip that away from them and they're kind of watered down to wrestle like everyone else in the show, then what makes them stand out? Yeah, the handshakes, the purple ropes, that's cute. But really, when it all comes down to the basics, the wrestling, the story, the character development, it's no different than anyone else on Raw. So, I don't know. Maybe it would be done better if it was on SmackDown. I'm not really sure. That was the way it used to be back in the day. But even then, I mean, it's not like the division 10 years ago was any better than it is right now. Let's point that out. I feel like it's not getting enough love either. I mean, I was watching, as you guys know, for Wrestle Rant. I hate to go off on a massive rant for RJ's question, but I want to answer it in full here. That, 10 years ago, I would watch, pay-per-views from 10 years ago. I watched pay-per-views for Wrestle Rant, Backlashes, Judgment Days, No Mercies, Great American Bashes, stuff like that. And they would have a Kid Cash, Gregory Helms match. Nobody fucking cared. Good match, people sat on their hands when Kid Cash won the belt. No one gave a shit. No one cared. It's no different than it is right now. If it was it might have been worse back then. It might have been worse. So, let's just point that out right now. That it's not like, oh my god, the Cruiserweight division 10 years ago was so much better. Not that I'm seeing people say that. But I know the Cruiserweight division being brought back was exciting. And the matches, again, have been good, but it's not like the Cruiserweight matches 10 years ago were any better than they are right now. The CWC is what really got people's hopes up, and they shit the bed on that. And what can they do to fix it? RJ's second question, what can they do to make it better? More characters, more feuds, more stories. Stop the awful acting. Give people a reason to get behind these guys. And I want to say don't tone them down. I just know that's not possible. I want to give you a realistic answer and say, characters, stories, feuds, longer matches that aren't in the fucking death slot of the pay-per-views. Coming off a great Cell match. That was the death. That was the death slot last night for the Cruiserweights. Put them in the first hour. I think it was a big thing. I said that on Wrestle Rant Radio last week when I was talking to Tom. The clip is here on the channel. Put them in the fucking opener. That and just, again, I don't want to say don't tone down the style, and they should not tone down the style, but I know they're not going to do that. I know they're not going to tone it down, if that makes sense. I know they're going to keep it the same style they're doing now, but the other things would at least make it better. At Scarlet 1, what's the darkest wrestling storyline ever? There's a couple, kind of fitting with Halloween being today. But Katie Vick, I know, is one of the most, if not the most disturbing wrestling storyline of all time. But it's also kind of dark if you think about it. Eddie being in hell, with Randy Orton implying that Eddie Guerrero was in hell, is pretty dark. Big Boss Man crashing Big Show's funeral was pretty dark. Big Boss Man cooking up Al Snow's dog, or the other way around? I don't remember. But I think it was Al Snow's dog that he ate. That was pretty dark. That was gross. Terrible, but they did it. And you said wrestling, so that's WWE stuff. wrestling Sandman's crucifixion in ECW that was so controversial that it turned away Kurt Angle, that he just did not want to work for ECW after that. So, and he went to WWE instead, so it all worked out for the better. But that was a really dark angle too. So those are a few of the darkest wrestling storylines that come to mind, in my opinion. The Lita kicking the baby thing by Snitsky and getting an abortion, that was pretty dark too, which they would never do today, nor should they. But those are some dark wrestling storylines. Have you ever seen the Resurrection of Jake Roberts documentary and or WWE's Living on a Razor's Edge, the Scott Hall story? Yes to the Jake Roberts doc and no to Scott Hall's. I want to watch Scott Hall's. I think they just came out the DVD. It's not on the network yet. It probably will be in a couple months. I heard nothing but good things about Eric Bischoff's. I know RJ watched that. He said it was good. I think at Reborn Again on Twitter, shout out to him. He watched it and he said it was good. I saw him live tweeting about it a couple days ago. So Scott Hall's I would check out. It looks really, really good. I just have not had a chance to watch it yet. The Jake Roberts one I did, though. I actually paid for that one through iTunes. I think I not bought it. I rented it. And it was really fucking good. Really, really, really good. It wasn't like, when I saw the previews for it that DDP was doing, it's Diamond Dallas Page. He's going to kind of make it 10 times more bigger than it needs to be. A lot like Paul Heyman. He's he's a businessman. But he was like, it's going to have you in tears. You're going to be crying harder than you ever have before. I wasn't in tears watching it. I might have gotten a little watery-eyed. But other than that, it was a really, really good doc. So I would strongly recommend it. And I think it's on Netflix now, too, from what I've been told. So from what I've seen. So check it out when you get the chance. It's really, really good. If you were blind, what one commentator would you trust to call a match for you to hear? Bonus question, name one that you wouldn't. Jim Ross would be one if I was blind. That's a great question, actually, that you don't really think about it, but it is really true. It is really accurate, for blind people. If they do watch wrestling, I don't know. But Jim Ross, I know, would call it like it is. He would add in the excitement, or he would make it enthusiastic. But I would actually go with Mauro Ranallo, because if I went blind for whatever reason, and I already know the wrestling moves, it's not like I hear the move and I don't know what it is because I've never seen it before. Mauro calls the moves, but he also adds in his own excitement. So I would certainly say that Mauro Ranallo would be the guy for me to call a match if I was blind, because he calls the moves as they are, which is such a refreshing breath of fresh air. Such a, breath of fresh air for WWE. Probably Mauro Ranallo. One that I wouldn't, of all time, Mike Adamle was terrible. Currently, Otunga is not great. He's not awful, but he's also not really that good. But I wouldn't say him. Saxton is just bland. JBL is just obnoxious. If he was one to call a match for me if I was blind, you would never know what the fuck is going on. Or Jerry Lawler. Oh, wow. Look at that move. Ball game. That's it. Prince Pretty, whatever the fuck he says. Good night, sweet Prince. And that's it. That's the only way that I would know a match is over, if he said ball game. But other than that, he adds nothing to the matches. Nothing to the matches at all. So, and he's yelling all the time. I would want to just put myself in my own misery if I was blind and I was watching a match or listening to a match with JBL's commentary over it. So, one that I would, Mauro Ranallo. One that I wouldn't, Mike Adamle / JBL. At Chad _ Presley, excuse me. What do you think is the most underrated match this year in WWE? Great question. A lot of great matches. Don't know if it's underrated, but the Extreme Rules from the Fatal 4-Way from Extreme Rules. I'm biased because I was there, but RJ knows what I'm talking about. Owen, Zayn, Miz, and Cesaro. Awesome fucking match. One of the best matches of the year up to that point anyway. That was really, really good. So I'd go with that one. None others that immediately come to mind. The Triple Threat at WrestleMania, that was pretty underrated. The Jericho AJ match, that was really underrated, also from that WrestleMania, so there's a few. I would say those three matches. The 4-Way from Extreme Rules, the Women's Triple Threat from WrestleMania 32, and also from WrestleMania 32, AJ and Chris Jericho, I thought was really underrated too, as well. And final question from Conquer89. Like I said, great meeting you yesterday, dude. Awesome shooting the WWE breeze. Be sure to give him a follow. He asked, how did last night's event rank for you in terms of quality compared to other WWE shows that you've attended? Really, really good question. So for WWE shows, Was it the best pay-per-view I've ever been to? No. Not even close. But it was a really good show. I thought it was a solid show. My full review in written form will be available on nextairwrestling.net later today, sooner rather than later, but a little bit later on. So be sure to check that out. But yeah, so it's hard. I mean, it used to be a lot easier to rank shows. It's like, because at one point I had been to like 5 or 4 or whatever. Like TakeOver Brooklyn was always my number 1. And then Brooklyn 2 took the cake and is now my new number 1. But I've been to, in the last year has been crazy with the amount of shows that I've been to. Just getting the opportunity. I mean, if I had the same opportunity 2 years ago, I would have done the same thing. But just in recent years, just in the last 365 days alone, I've been to, I was at TLC in December in Boston. I was at a SmackDown, a Raw, a TakeOver, 2 NXT shows, one in April. I'll be at another one in a couple weeks, also in Boston. SummerSlam, like I said, TakeOver already, TakeOver Extreme Rules, and then also last night, Hell in a Cell. So a lot of WWE shows, no live events, just Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views, and NXT shows. So, so it's really hard to rank. Those are just in last year alone. That's not even counting, like, of all time, including SummerSlam last year, or TakeOver last year, every other Raw that I've been to, Fan Appreciation Day. So I will say it wasn't toward the top of the list. It was a good show. No big markout moments. I do, obviously, as you can tell, my voice is still a little shot from yesterday, but that's also a combination of just being tired, because I barely slept the night before. RJ knows the story. But, there wasn't like at Extreme Rules, Rollins came back. So that was a big markout moment. And that was a great main event too. Last time we had a great main event, but in a lot of great spots. But no real one markout moment, which is rare for me. Usually there's at least one. Joe winning the belt, Nakamura winning the belt, Balor winning at SummerSlam, or AJ beating John Cena was my biggest markout moment from that weekend, I would say. Bayley debuting, Brock Lesnar being in the show. Last night didn't really have that. There were a lot of cool moments, not a lot of big markout moments though. So for that, I'd have to rank it like in the middle. It wasn't a bad show. I thought it was actually a really good show. A lot of good wrestling. I thought the matches were perfect. I thought the lineup, the positioning of the card was really, really good. From doing a cell match in the beginning with Roman and Rusev, Owens and Rollins in the middle, and then the women in the main event I thought was perfect. I would have switched the Cruiserweights with Dana and Bayley, just because I think the Cruiserweights would have benefited from going on earlier. No one was going to care about Bayley, Dana, either way. So I would have switched those 2 matches. But other than that, I thought the lineup, I thought the card placement was really, really good. The match placement I thought was really, really good for everything on the card for the most part. Cruiserweights in the kickoff show was great. But yeah, overall event-wise, very good show, but I've been to a lot of great shows. I mean, I'm really fortunate. I thought TLC was really fun. Extreme Rules was a lot of fun. SummerSlam weekend was great. So it's hard to say that this one ranks up near the top 5. It's not even in the top 5, but it was still a very good show. I don't want to say, it was shit. I'll never say a show that I've been to is shit. I've been to, at least 3 dozen wrestling shows in my time, in the last number of years. At least 3 dozen, if not more. And I've never been to a bad wrestling show. Some that weren't as good as others, but never a bad wrestling show. There was always something to like. Last night, the 3 cell matches I thought delivered. The finish of the show was depressing, like I said, and the booking of that feud was horrendous in terms of the title switches and whatever else. And now Banks comes off like a fucking loser, but that's, again, another rant for another day. But the main event was great up until the finish. I thought Reigns and Rusev exceeded expectations. The Universal title match was really, really good. Seeing Jericho was great. I was happy to see Kendrick win the belt. That was cool. The tag team title match was good up until the shitty finish. Brooke and Bayley was whatever. The Club and Enzo and Cass was whatever. The Toy Story promo was good from Enzo. That was pretty funny. And what else? I think that was it. The Cruiserweight match and the kickoff show was also really good. So, overall, I give it a thumbs up. Thought it was a good show. Enjoyed being there. Just a really good show in general. I thought it was better than Clash of Champions. Maybe that was just me. I enjoyed this pay-per-view a lot more than that show. But still not a home run of a show. At least not nearly as good as some other shows that I've been to, which is saying, and not really saying much, just because those other shows were just so fucking good. The bar set really, 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 really high. So, anyway, great night. Once again, I hate to keep on doing this. Sorry to keep on shutting you out, RJ, but big thanks, thumbs up for inviting me to the Go to Hell tour yesterday. Had a great time. And now we look forward to, and I keep on thinking to myself, like, what's next? Going forward, we have NXT Boston. Not a takeover, just a live event in Boston. The day before I leave here, actually, for my Thanksgiving break. So the timing could not be better. It's on the 17th. Always a great day. Love the 17th. Just because I love the number 17, so that's the reason why. And it's the day after RJ's birthday. So it's going to be a big birthday celebration for Mr. Marceau. So I can't wait for that. And beyond that, up until any other shows are announced, unless I go to a house show while I'm on Christmas break in New York or something, which I want to do, hopefully WrestleMania. So I think the road to WrestleMania may start now. But all that being said, guys, as always, thank you for sending in your questions. I hope you appreciate my Halloween decorations. If you haven't checked it out already, what the hell are you waiting for? Go watch my video blog from last week talking about my top 5 favorite Halloween matches from WWE and TNA in the last 8 years, in the time that I've been a fan for. And also be sure to check out the video blog this Thursday for my full-on experience of the entire day of not only Hell in a Cell, but also meeting Kevin Owens at the start of the day in Boston. I think I have the shirt. I don't really want to get up. I'll show it to you on Thursday in the video blog. But I didn't put this on Twitter yet, but I bought the Kevin Owens Show t-shirt. So I bought that at the show last night. Met KO in the morning. Had a great time at the show at night. Hung out with RJ in the meantime and his girlfriend too. So just a really, really fun day, and I'll be talking all about it on Thursday. Hopefully by that point my voice will be 100% recovered, because right now I'm still feeling the after effects of the Go to Hell tour last night. The culmination of the Go to Hell tour. So I think that's it. Like I said, my full written review of the show will be up. I apologize for the delay. I was at the fucking show last night, and I'll be busy today. But it should be up sooner, and pretty soon. So check it out at the website at nextairwrestling.net. Enjoy Halloween. I hope you appreciate my makeshift costume with the shirt, the glasses, and the bandana. That's the only reason why I'm wearing glasses in this video, by the way, just for the costume. Don't think I'm a douche or anything, but I used to do that way back in the day. I don't do it anymore, wearing glasses for my videos. And I thought it'd be fitting for today's Halloween theme, my favorite holiday of the year. But if you're going trick-or-treating or to a party or just hanging out watching Raw, like I will be, trick-or-treat street fight, baby! Favorite match of the year. It's going to be a lot of fun. Love Halloween, so I will be watching Raw tonight. Enjoy the show, guys. Oh, and obviously, before we go, if you want to land your question on the show, if you want to be involved and featured right here on hashtag AskGSM, you can send your questions to me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with hashtag AskGSM. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.JSM.Matthews. Don't forget that .Matthews. Drop a comment on the post. I usually put up on Sunday nights, last night being the exception because I was out and my phone was dying and I needed that battery to get an Uber from the train station back to my college last night, so I couldn't do it. But yeah, so you can find me on Facebook or drop a comment on the wall itself, or you can drop a comment down below in the comment section. Drop your question down below, and I'll be sure to include your question in next week's edition. So with all that being said, guys, enjoy Halloween tonight. I will catch you next month. And when I say that, I mean today's the last day of the month. You know exactly what I'm fucking talking about. We'll be back next week on the first Monday of November as the Road to Survivor Series kicks off tonight on Raw. So enjoy Halloween, guys. Have a frightening, scary, terrifying day. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch you folks down the road.